we bring up on screen and talk about. Sometimes we find differences of opinion, but generally when it has to do with Linux, we agree it's a good thing depending on which flavor of Linux that you wind up using. Okay, I see a variety of people are here and ready to go, so let's jump in to that shared screen. Nope, wrong thing here. There I am. I don't see anybody that would be considered new to the group. So let's go ahead and welcome, Dick.
Hello, Hogarth. Hello.
And I'm getting feedback from some of your speakers.
You need earphones.
I think, yeah, let's get earphones. Could be us.
I'm sure it's us. Where are your earphones?
Okay, let me go ahead then and begin with this first piece, the FOSS news. There is a section here about ebook lending apps. Most libraries have some way that they can provide their clients with ebooks that are loaned out electronically, but the cost of doing those loans has risen significantly, and the loans are provided through a service that is entirely proprietary. The libraries do not actually own the ebooks, they just are a channel through which they get to provide patron copies, and those patron copies are costing the libraries more and more each year. So this article is talking about what those library systems can do to minimize the cost of lending what essentially is very fungible copies of a book. The authors are supposed to get some money back through the lending system, but I suspect the majority of the money is actually going to the lending system, not to the actual authors who share their ebooks through those systems. Anybody have experience taking ebooks out through the library they're affiliated with? Apparently not, so off we'll go back to the next item. Google has decided in its wisdom to pay damages in advance rather than have to go to trial with the Department of Justice in order to avoid some kind of monopoly jury trial. They'd rather just have it decided by a judge. So they've spent many hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay off the maximum loan, the maximum penalty. Oh, here's 300 million is what they believe the damages are going to be. And rather than go to court, they'd rather just settle beforehand to avoid a jury trial. It'll be interesting to see if a monopoly bypass can be done that way. I'm not sure whether the Department of Justice is going to back down. I think they want to see if the jury would give a great deal more money as a result of the trial effort.
On the other hand, the Department of Justice might like to save
Okay.
cost.
Feedback from you again, Dick. I think Bill was talking.
Department of Justice may want to avoid the cost of fighting a jury case against somebody with a large bunch of highly paid lawyers. So going to judge only or pleading out on a deal can be win-win for the taxpayer and the miscreant and the consumer. Gets us something sooner for less.
That is true, I'm sure, and I'm sure we'll be eventually privy to the information that comes in the wake of this article. Anybody else have comments about it? Okay, there's a video that comes out once a week from a fellow named Nick at the Linux Experience. And he has recently asked people by way of his Mastodon federated account what problems they see in the Linux system, what they have trouble with. And while he is a marginal expert, he was surprised at some of the things that did show up and others that did not. I would hesitate to go to the link and play his description of those reports because it's a 20-minute video and we don't want to take our time up watching that. But I strongly urge anybody who is interested in this Linux topic to go and watch that survey discussion. Nick seems to know pretty much what he's talking about. We've talked about his presentations in the past as well. Okay. And dead batteries in Subaru cars appear to be caused not just because the car is a bad car, which I don't think people believe, but because the Starlink uses batteries even while the car is turned off to try to connect to report its findings about how the car is performing. Unfortunately, the system is built with a hard-coded unit, the data control module, that only connects to 3G phone networks. And the system was provided by AT&T back then at 3G, but not later. So that control module cannot report, and it just drains batteries in the attempt to stay connected. There is a recall, and if you have a Subaru that's older than a few years, say before 2016, you might want to see if you are experiencing that problem. Okay, I didn't have any encounters with interesting FOSS history this month. Does anybody else have a piece they'd like to share with us?
I just want to mention the thing with the Subaru.
Yes.
there's a very, very similar issue with all Teslas and many electric cars that have a lot of electronics that are essentially are on 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
If you go park your car at the airport, for instance, and it's going to be there a week or two, you got to be very, very careful and make sure your battery is enough charge and cut out some of the other stuff that you don't want, like Sentry that uses that has all the cameras turned on all the time. And that's an issue with any car that actually has electronics that stay on, not just Subaru.
Mm.
That would go to anyone that's using Starlink, which I think is all GM cars.
I think we will eventually solve this kind of problem by having flashable firmware in the data control modules of the newer cars. But those probably weren't considerations that engineers of the time, when the designs were put together, had seen as a problem, because they were developing the concept rather than developing a finished product that they knew would be improved over time. That's one of the nice things about the newer systems that do have over-the-air updates available. Okay. My next bit is actually a recent entry from Dick Miller, who would like to mention the new Photox with its new spelling that came out as 24.40, I believe, released yesterday. And he has a segment to play from a 54-minute user guide that's a video, 54 minutes. Dick, are you prepared to deal with that, or shall I pass over in case you're having troubles?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Good sound?
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
sound.
I guess I'm prepared. We'll find out. I found I had earphones with no microphone. That wasn't working well. Okay, first of all, Photox 24.40 hopefully will be coming up about now. And for me, this guy, right?
Oh, doesn't Alcott needs to stop sharing?
I need to stop share. Okay, I'll do that.
Oh, lesson B. Imagine that. Better. And let's see, somewhere in here, I should have my screen. Oh, window or screen? Screen, guys.
No, just do Photox.
Photox?
Yeah.
Back window. To where? This one, huh? What did you see? This one? Chuck?
Oh, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Just move over to where you can see.
You want to do the video?
Yes. No, I just want to do what's on the screen. No more, no less.
Okay, then go up to where you were choosing the screen. Down. Down. Up.
This one?
Yes.
And you want a different one?
Yes.
Which?
I guess it's screen 1.
That sounds familiar. Like we've been there. Okay. And allow. We'll get there yet.
What? Why?
I think you might want to allow.
It's grayed out.
It's not getting, well, maybe it is. I'll try not, oh, come on, guys. All I want to do is close it. Let's see if I can evade it. I think I can. You're seeing some lovely crystals in color.
Along with the overlay of Jitsi Meet to share your screen, to see your screen.
Yes.
What's this back here?
You need to do the select window or screen link that's
I
on.
know what I want. Now we go. I am sharing. Yes, no problem. What's all this discussion about?
Try stop sharing and then redo it.
Oh, you're kidding. And now this one?
Wait a minute, make sure that, yeah, now that one, yes. Screen one.
And in the pop-up that you should see, you want to choose the gray stripe that talks about which part of your screen you want to share.
Yes, I want the full screen.
But you
And
still have to click that. And then
Oh,
you have to,
click what? The up arrow?
in that little pop-up that you
Yeah.
are seeing.
This one, right? This one?
You don't see
I'm
it.
not seeing it because you're not
Okay.
you're not yet sharing. It's a little rectangle and a stripe that says select which thing you want to share.
You already
We
did that.
already did that. And it now has a very narrow one line pop up,
Right.
which says you are sharing your screen. And it has a button to the right that says stop sharing. And all I wanted to say, yes, okay. I'm happy with this.
Oh, Dick,
What?
just put that sort of out of the way in the corner. And then when you've finished, you can,
What?
yeah.
Okay. We shall see. Now. Whoops. Come on, this is easy, guys. That one.
Not sharing.
Should be everything but. Damn. Sharing.
Botox demo and
Okay, let's
tutorial.
do it that way. Well, that was bound to work. Too many choices. Okay. Good.
No, it's still not sharing.
It's not.
No. We at large are only seeing the screen we are
Let me try it.
focused on.
Cool. Come over toward me. Put that away, because otherwise you'll drag on the power cord. Toward me. Hear me? Here. Now it might work.
Back to this one. And is that share screen?
I think that's the one we have set up.
Yes, start screen sharing. Oh, wait a minute. Why is this up here?
Maybe, I don't know how close we are or not.
It's gone.
We're setting up again to select window or screen.
That's what you want to do. You want
I
to.
think maybe screen 2 is indicated.
Now we are seeing a shared screen of you. There it is.
Yes. Now we've got it.
Are you seeing a sort of an old city?
Yes.
Good.
Mountain.
Oh, okay, the real thing. Well, you know, it's possible. And first of all, the Photox has come with, not brand new, a built-in user guide and a built-in
Move this.
video tutorial. The tutorial is very long because it's going into about everything that's in the guide with demos. So I'm just going to do a little bit.
Move this out of the way
Oh,
first.
sorry. I thought they weren't seeing it.
They weren't.
Let's see.
They are.
I'm looking for 42 on the screen. I am. Right about there. It's with the way I'm sitting. Okay. And
You didn't do it, dear.
I didn't. Thought I did. I did.
There you go.
Yes.
And we will show you a demo of Mash Up. No sound on it. Observe that he's taken 3 different images he's selected, and he's going to play with them. You can see how he's doing it, and you can see what's happening. And by the way, this is real time. It's not sped up or anything. Got one where he's ready to play with the second. This is Mike Cornelison demonstrating. He's the author of Photox. I was playing with the third one.
Very large mountain of
Yes, indeed.
As you can see, the web of a million lies now has 1,000,001 lies. Edit text. I'll say that's a giant Andean mountain goat. He's playing with the shadowing, the dark shadowing on the letters. And all these are a zillion little tools within Photox. So in 3 minutes, he's demonstrating quite a bit. You can stop it with the space bar at any time, and you can go back with the left arrow 5 seconds at a time. Or you can forward, hit the space bar to start again. If you are trying to learn something, you might want to watch it 3 times. And here he is saying save. And that's exactly where I stopped it. I'll leave it there. That's the end of that trip. This is one little example of what's already built in the help section. PhotoTouch, the bottommost, a little lifesaver down there. Now, this isn't my lifesaver, it's his. So I think I'm basically done with that. I will go see if I can stop sharing. Are there any questions while I'm in Photox? We will be giving we've given you a link to where you can go find Photox online and download it from home base, Mike Cornelison, Cornelix.net with a K, but the link will tell you that. And if you're already using it, download it, and it was a very smooth install. A year or so ago, you had to know a few more secrets. Now it takes care of those also. So I like it very much. I really haven't used the new one. We just got it aboard a few hours ago. So next month, maybe I'll show you something new. But this is showing you how you can find the help right down there, and it'll walk you through and give you demos and make you happy. That's it.
I have a question, Dick.
Yep.
Is that demo for the new version, or is that something that was there before?
The answer is yes. The actual heading on the demo, the 1 hour's worth of demo or so, is an earlier, I think it's 22 dot something, so 2 years old. That's not to say it doesn't get modified at times. I expect it will be getting modifications in the next week or two as final feedback comes in from a broader audience. So I'm not sure. I didn't notice anything I didn't see before. I've already noticed in the program a few things I didn't see before, and I like them, but they're minor touches, a lot of minor touches. Maybe I'll find some big ones I like, but I can't tell you yet.
Thank you, Dick. Anybody else
Thank
have
you.
questions? Okay, then, Dick, if you'll unshare your screen at this point.
I think I did.
I believe I'm. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the multiple view without it. All right, so I guess I'll go back to sharing on mine and window Mozilla. And we're back. The next piece is something that came up as a result of thinking about the INXI, INXI, that Dick introduced to us for doing work with remote people. And most of my experience with remote these days is around Raspberry Pis on my own network. So I had been experimenting with INXI on Raspberry Pi. There's a link down a little further that talks about that. But along the way, I came upon this news that there is a new piece of software that the Raspberry Pi developers are putting together to try to replace the real VNC that has been available in the past. I believe this is related to issues with Wayland rather than with the older X, because real VNC depended on the ability of the X server, as I understand it, to share GUI and video. So if you have an interest in using the Raspberry Pi with a remote view of it and control, this new tool, the Raspberry Pi Connect, is something you might want to look into. And in this section, we're looking mostly at tools like that. After talking about the big news of Photox, most of the rest of the things that are in this hot software section are about utilities that have presented themselves as useful to one or more of us. And that leads me to asking Bob Primack if he is ready to talk about his demo of the GUVC view and camera controls, GUI utilities, and I'll stop sharing.
Algot, if you will stop sharing. I'm getting an echo feedback. Somebody's got a speaker or a microphone. Anyway, maybe it's my webcam. Just a second. Just some input. All right, did that take care of it? That got it. It's in my own room.
Perfect demo of the system.
Let me show you what I did. I think on Bob P2, which doubled my first initial, let me try a screen share from there. Because I want to show you what I used in order to do that. That's actually an audio control rather than a video control, but I want to see entire screen, share, entire screen, share. Okay, now let me get rid of the browser. And here's what I had. This is my Pulse Audio volume control on the other computer. This is my Intel NUC. And what I had was, here we're going to get an echo. And now the echo is gone. That's a mute button. And I can do the same thing with the built-in analog. What I want to show is there's a configuration available in Pulse Audio controls. And look at what I've got. That's because I have a nice driver that will allow me to do that. My Brio 100 is off, but my webcam 510 is the one I've got mounted on a tripod. And so anyway, that's that. Let me show you GUCV view. And this is something that you can install. GUCV view is installed from your normal repo. It's not a Flatpak or a Snap. And there's a preview window here, which shows what my camera that is mounted on a tripod is showing. And I think what I want to do here is, before I lose everything down here, that's okay, that was only my speaker. What I want to do is make some adjustments with the image controls. I can adjust brightness so we can actually see what we're looking at here. I'm just going to put my glasses up here so that we can see some differences. And we can, I think that brightness is better. And we can adjust contrast, in which case we may need to increase the brightness. And we can get saturation, more color, which is too much, or less color, which is almost black and white. And you can also do white balance so that it goes bluer or redder or various. This is actually a gain control that we're doing here. And we can do sharpness. If you increase the sharpness, it looks really nice with more sharpness. Less sharpness, it isn't quite so good. You can backlight compensate, and that's not going to show up very much here because I'm not using a lot of backlighting. And I can also do the exposure, which will greatly change things, but it changes things differently from the gain control or the white balance. So I can pan the camera from side to side, and I can tilt the camera up or down. And that is for a camera that has pan and tilt. My other camera in here is just a Brio, which does not have that pan and tilt feature, and it doesn't have some of the others. What I don't see here is a zoom feature. I am just going to look a little bit. No, this one does not do zoom any differently. So that's one. I'm going to stop sharing here because I have in my main view over here, I'm going to blank out my Jitsi video for a little while so that I can attempt to get my webcam in a new instance. Okay, now I'm going to share as soon as I figure out what I'm doing. Okay, I think I want to, yeah, I can increase the size of the preview window. Okay, now I'm going to go to share this entire screen like this, and I will take down you guys in order to show me. I have one instance here that is one webcam, and it doesn't have a lot of controls because it's an older type of webcam. It's a Logitech notebook webcam, but I can still do things like color saturation. Maybe I can make this a little bigger so that you can see it a little better. Okay, now it's big enough so that we can see. And I can do the brightness as I did before. And I can do the contrast if I need. I can do saturation so it's less or more. I like a little bit more on this camera. And the gamma really doesn't want to be where it is, but I think, oh, the white balance is automatic, so I don't think the gamma is going to change no matter what I do. And I can do sharpness, which on this webcam has to be pretty good. Backlight compensation isn't doing a whole lot there. Let me see if there's more control here. But anyway, this is GUVC control. I'm going to briefly pull up the camera controls app. Oh, I want to show you my main webcam. So let me get rid of this guy and this guy. This is my main webcam, and it has all kinds of controls. I can do zoom, and right now I am zooming. If I had it in its normal mode, it would be like this, and my image wouldn't fill the screen. So for a meeting, I would rather have it this. If I do it here, like that, it actually won't go any farther. So it has two modes there. There's also focus, but I'm not going to do anything with that. And like I say, I can tilt and I can pan in order to center myself in the screen. Now let me just briefly see if I can pull up the camera controls. This is Linux Mint Debian edition, by the way, with the Cinnamon desktop. And it's one of the alternatives to Ubuntu some of us have been experimenting with. And camera controls. Let me just show you the interface. If I had a camera that could do, I'm not sure I'm going to get a preview here. No, it's not going to do that, but if it were doing a preview, it would have a preview window. And there are things like exposure, which can be controlled, backlight compensation, color balance can be done, and it's got a different way of doing white balance. It shows, and there are some color presets for camera controls. Camera controls is either a snap, it's either a snap or a flat pack in most distros. I haven't seen it in the main repos. And then it has advanced features for various things you can do, and there is a capture mode. So that's the other control. And let me stop sharing and bring up the meeting if I can, and put my camera back on if it'll do it. It won't do it until I close something here. Okay, I'm going to close that instance and bring myself back into the meeting. Hello. Anybody got any questions, comments?
That was fabulous.
So these are things I use.
That was fabulous.
Yeah, these are things I use when I prepare for meetings so that my face is the right size and so that my sound is better.
Yeah, I just tried it while we were in the meeting. I installed it, but it doesn't like my camera.
Which one? GUVC view?
Yeah,
Jerry, one of the problems is if Jitsi is using your camera, GUVC view can't.
yeah. Okay.
It's either one or the other. That's why I had to blank my camera out in order to demo this webcam.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I try it later.
Yeah, you can't share devices, but yes, it's a really neat little app. And I like that it's a GUI and you get this preview window so you get instant feedback.
That's good.
So the kind of camera that you have installed makes a moderate amount of difference. For example, I'm using a very inexpensive Logitech, and it doesn't have any impact on the size of my view because I'm just this close to it. And that's what I get because I'm on the laptop.
Does GUVC View have anything listed for a Zoom for yours? Have you tried it?
I thought I had. Let me go and start it and see if I can do that.
Because sometimes that Zoom control will show up, but again, you can't use the same camera you're using on Jitsi.
Ah, okay.
Because it won't be able to share the signal. These webcams, apparently, there's only one feed that can be used at a time if you have something like Jitsi or any meeting software going.
Yep. I'll have to do this offline, see if I can make that work.
But I found that my Brio 100 does not have a zoom control, and it does not have pan or tilt. The camera just isn't capable of it. And my older notebook webcam can't do it either. But my Logitech C615 can, and there's a 500 series that can. And Jill wants to speak.
Yeah. Is it possible to set the settings before a meeting and then have them remain there while you go to the meeting?
Well, Jill, yes, you can. And what I actually was able to do just now, as long as I blank out my video, I can make the adjustment on the fly, and I did. During this meeting, I actually changed the size of the image, the zoom level, without leaving the meeting. But I had to blank out my video in order to do it. Once you're not sharing the video between two apps, you can make the adjustment and it'll stick, at least for the session, maybe permanently. In fact, it will probably become the default for that particular installation.
Great, thank you.
By the way, the reason why I came across this is that in Windows, I have the Intel ARC controls, which is driver-related software for video. And it can control all these kinds of things too, actually almost as well as GUVC View. And I also have the Logitech controls. None of these are available in Linux. That's why I started looking. So GUVC View for Linux does the things that my built-in driver software does in Windows.
Yeah, I just tested mine, so it works fine.
It does work. Very
Yes.
good, Jerry. Very good. I hope others will also try this kind of thing.
Go ahead, Dick.
I'm very confused. I have a question. I was all set to measure on the new photons, but this is so good I want to measure on this too. Who do I complain to?
Who do you complain to if the software isn't working well? Anyway, this software,
No, just I want to complain because I can't decide which one's the one I should put my time in now. They're too good.
these applications. Yeah. Well, anyway, I would say GUVC View is the one that usually works better and has more controls. And the Pulse Audio I have to use, otherwise I get bad feedback.
Okay, that was a fantastic piece of information. The kind
Big thanks.
we like to see in meetings like this, so that not only those who attend, and we have 10 people online or 9, so wow, plus those who are going to watch it on the YouTube video that comes live, as well as being still on Dennis's YouTube feed, so that we can all look back at it during the week and the month and the years later. Thank you all. All right, I'm going to go back to do the share of the window of Firefox to get back to our list of useful hot software. And the next one that comes up is something called the PS tree command. And I think that in a past demo, somebody talked about this, but this gives a good description of what it does. It is a command line tool that lets you know how the structure of what you are doing is built with the processes that underlie everything that's on your computer, not just at the command line, but in the GUI world as well. But the nice thing is that the type of view you get from the PS tree, which is coming down here, this is all, I'm scrolling through part of the article that shows how to get it and how to explain installing it. You can see that in this particular display on the command line, that everything in this image is in the init group. That means init started it, which is the system D predecessor. System D being now the dominant control for starting all the basic pieces of software on the computer system in Linux. And here you can see that there's an audit daemon. That's what the D typically means in these kinds of command line tools, and that these things are offshoots of that tool. So if one of these were to go wrong, you might check back to this one to see if everything's working. And in all of the case of this illustration, you'd go back and find that init was involved in making it work. I've explored it a little bit, and I do recommend that if you have issues, that you go ahead and learn about this system, because you will be able to cure some of your problems knowing what is in control of each of the levels of this, rather than just having a process list, which is the other kind of simpler command instead of PS tree. I think I hear a request for, yep, Jill wants to ask a question.
Actually, not a question, just a comment. While you were talking about it, I opened my terminal window, put in PS Tree, and it came right up on. I'm on Linux Mint, so it's already there. It's just nice to know.
Mm-hmm. I would think that many systems do have it. You know, like a lot of these choices, unless you are working with one of the ones that has a bare bones install, my understanding that Arch Linux is that kind of system setup. You begin from near scratch and build the system that you want by making choices of what to install. We're typically used to installing some programs, but expect a bunch of basics to be there in the Linux world. Certainly those who are in the Macintosh world and in the Windows world have come to expect certain tools to be available, with the ability to read PDF files automatically, for example, which was at one time something you had to add a program for. And generally, the modern versions of Linux, the modern desktop environments, thank you very much, Bob, for that reminder. The desktop environments that are out there have a pretty complete set of the basics that don't take up all that much space on your system drive, allowing you to choose the big programs that don't come automatically, rather than cramming you full of a bunch of garbage that doesn't do much except advertise to you while you're sitting trying to do something useful. And we will mention that that is unfortunately typical of the proprietary software world. You are not in charge. The company that provides you the computer software tends to tell you what you should do with your computer. And if you're not busy enough, here, take a look at these side ads as well. I'm glad to have switched to the Linux world so that I can avoid that. Okay, back to the screen here, showing my archive of my agenda page. The next command I don't have a particular link for, unfortunately, because distro info is a command line tool that Debian and Ubuntu systems try to provide for finding out what you have about your distribution. That's not the same command on either system. So the distro info is really just a link to the one that's available on your system. And you'll need to have a little bit of patience with yourself while you explore this. But I think it answered a question that John Thompson had a few weeks ago on the Discuss mailing list. And I think distro info would be one way to answer his question about how to identify what your system is running. There are other tools, including the info screen that you can get. Most modern Linux GUIs give you the basics, but distro info can give you a great deal more detail. Has anybody used this? Anybody have a comment?
In Mint Debian, it wants me to install the command, so it's not native to that, but Mint Debian isn't exactly Ubuntu anyway.
Right.
But if I install it, I can see the same thing.
I don't remember whether I actually had it installed or had to install it to find out. I believe I read an article about it that led me to the steps, and I didn't record what I did in this particular instance, but I thought the information that I got out of pursuing the effort was worth it, because it would be a nice thing to go together with the INCSI that Dick presented or introduced to us a few meetings ago, or recently anyway. Examining somebody else's system from afar requires this kind of tool to get the information that you can't necessarily see if you aren't on their machine in the same room. Jerry, comment.
Yeah, I just installed it while you were talking. So it obviously is available under Fedora 40. I'm going to just run it right now real quick.
Yeah, that'd be the DNF repo.
Yeah.
I just installed it. It wants some parameters. We'll just put in all. And there it goes. Well, it tells me some things about, yeah, it tells me what this particular distro, it has various descriptors. Buzz, Rex, Bo, Ham, S-Link, Potato, Woody, Sarge, Squeeze, Wheezy, all kinds of things like that. Oh, I know what it's doing. It's listing all the possible Debian distros that I could install. Let's go to stable.
I'm not sure that it actually does the install from here.
Okay, yeah, and then it lists, if I just simply use the parameter stable, it lists Bookworm, which is exactly what it is.
Yep.
So it will tell what distros are available, not what I have installed. At least that's what it does for Debian.
And we find that OpenSUSE does not offer this. Thank you, Ed.
I installed it, and it installed fine, but I tried to run it from the command line. It won't run. It says not found, so I got to figure that out.
Well, maybe it is specific to Debian and Ubuntu.
Well, no, it's available in Fedora since I was able to install it.
Okay, well, you'll have to figure out what the parameters are.
Yeah.
As I explored it, it seemed to indicate that there was a more lower level that distro info was actually pointing to. And on Fedora, that may be a command that's present or not. I'll see if I can backtrack to find the article that described this for everybody after the meeting, and I'll post the update in the agenda if I find it.
Yeah.
Because it was a tool that led to another tool in the general list.
Yeah, I'll look at that myself too, because since I just installed distro info, it also installed distro info data. So I'm not sure.
Right. Oh,
it
I'm
installed
reading
some stuff in user share.
Yeah. What I do find is where where there's a parameter supported -ESM, that would be unique to Ubuntu. It would be the ESM version. And the man page is probably correct that there are more, especially for Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool. Worth a gander for those people trying to understand the underlying components of their GUI system, which sometimes describes a Linux user. Although, let's be fair, you don't need these tools if you want to do the internet using Ubuntu or Fedora or Mint or any of the other Linux versions that are modern. You can do regular user work without these tools. It's for the people who want to understand, troubleshoot, and help others that these tools are useful. The same thing is true for the next links. I don't propose that most people here are active developers, or most people who will watch the video later, but there are information of this type for those who are IT people, for developers, and you want to see available information. This list is a very interesting list if you are under the hood, so to speak. We'll do all sorts of interesting kinds of work for those who need libraries to get at things. Libraries are reusable tools, by the way. They're not the libraries. Okay, I hear a request to speak.
Yes, I noticed just off.
Jill?
I noticed that there is a password strength analyzer, which I would think you wouldn't have to be very techie to use. You just put a proposed password in there and see if it's a good one.
Yep. Which is to say that there are tools in lists like this that have more general use, but they get included in places like this where developers would be able to use that sub-tool, that library, to incorporate that functionality within their tool to be able to have an application that says your password is weak or your password is moderate or your password is excellent. Jerry?
Yeah, I use LastPass. LastPass, I have that installed as an extension on my browser. I have it on my Android. Keeps all my passwords, but it does give you password strength indication.
I wonder if this particular tool is therefore the one mentioned in this list is a tool that the LastPass group incorporated in their own application. I don't know, but that's the idea behind that list.
Yeah, it's been in there. It's been in LastPass since I first installed it many years ago.
All right. The same thing is true for the next. If you are a security analyst, you would want tools that would help you identify and figure out the innards of the malware that someone has tried to distribute through the internet onto your computer or onto the computers of your building or onto the computers of your business. This is a list of those kinds of tools, and this is generally useful to the community. But if you are interested in exploring a cool set of tools that will help you identify a certain set of factors about any given piece of software that's on your computer, I thought the command that was listed here was particularly interesting since a lot of the random files on a computer are not obvious as to what they are. And the file command would allow you to find thing is an archive, some random ping with some other feature, because malware comes with all sorts of other forms. But I heard another ping. Somebody wants to say something. Nope, I don't see a hand. All right. There.
I did it with a text.
There.
With
Chill.
Yeah, I did it in the chat. Your microphone is breaking up pretty badly, so it's hard to understand you at times.
There was, as I think Ed pointed out, the small video in that page, which was slowing down the feed out of my Firefox area, the where I have the agenda.
Yeah, it was stealing
for everybody
some
to see.
It was stealing some resources.
We learn something new every day.
Sometimes those videos, they look small, but they have a big impact.
Well, I think your connection.
Oh yes.
I think your connection had some problems at one point.
Maybe.
That could be too. Now, the next one is a little closer to a useful tool for the rest of us. After analysis of malware and the tools for developers, we have the list of NatickFOSS recommendations for the best PDF editors. If you are a PDF consumer and it has the content that you want to edit, there are several ways you can do that. The most mature editor is from Adobe, which is not something that runs on Linux. So those of us who are interested in PDF editing need to find out other tools, particularly ones that are free open source software. And this article from NatickFOSS is a reasonable place to look if you're in the mood to find a PDF editor. And the reason PDFs are difficult to edit is, of course, that they were intended to be finished product distributions. So if there was an error in it and it got published, it was in a format that was not intended to be re-edited. And if you're passing along one of those kinds of things, then you need a tool to fix the mistake somebody else made.
Yeah, I've also. Oh, did somebody else want to talk? Yeah, Jerry wants to talk.
Yeah. I just want to mention that the founder, one of the co-founders of NatickFOSS, is going to be speaking in the July BLU meeting.
Hey, cool.
And
we are, for those who do not know, not directly affiliated with BLU, but we thank Jerry and the rest of the BLU crew for providing our web space. Our web domain is hosted at the BLU's server. Thank you again, Jerry, for making that possible.
You're welcome. I'll send you a bill.
I'm ready to pay. Bob?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I do a lot of PDF editing, and I used to have to because that was the format I got some stuff in through email and other places. And I find there are fairly adequate tools now included in LibreOffice and occasionally Inkscape. And there are tools like PDF Shuffler, which can rearrange a PDF and things of that sort. So being able to fill forms and being able to edit those PDFs that are editable is really not as difficult as it used to be. It used to be that for example, LibreOffice Draw could only handle one page at a time. Now it can handle multiple pages. And the same with Inkscape. And I guess we get more from Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I took about 10 screenshots yesterday for my labs to bring to the VA, my new VA doctor. And I wanted to put them together and print them. And I used the Linux command line to do that, convert. And that's part of Image Magic. And that basically, I said, convert star.pdf to star.jpg to foo.pdf, made it, printed it, and did beautifully. The doctor appreciated it because she didn't have access to the labs.
Yeah, that's another thing. LibreOffice Writer, for example, can export as PDF.
Yeah, fortunately, that's been
All
around
right.
for a long time.
And then I mentioned this one before, that if you are using Inksy as an analytical tool to work with somebody else's remote computer, my understanding is you have to get Inksy on the remote computer before it's a useful tool, so that you can secure shell login and get the information that you're looking for. And if you are interested in doing it on a Raspberry Pi, don't use the GitHub source, because they've moved their Inksy sources and master branches over to Codeberg. So go there to the link that you see, which is not a link, it's just a text link at the moment, if you want to use your skills with Inksy for an analysis of somebody else's remote computer. Okay. Hardware. Before we get there, anybody have more software stuff that needs to be added? Okay, I see nothing. So hardware, I have been, because I am in New England, a semi-often visitor to You Do It Electronics. That's in Needham, and it has been there for 75 years. I have not visited that long, but there's a link there that describes the closure. They're shutting down sometime in the summer and are going to notify you if you're interested in getting last minute deals and things like that. Those of us who are former visitors are going to miss it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been going there probably since the 1950s, almost since they opened, because I live within a bicycle riding distance of that place, and it was always.
Did you really take home a PDP-8 on your bicycle?
I would have loved to.
Oh, well, that was a bad joke. A PDP-8 was one of the early mini computers. We've gone on to microcomputers now, and single board computers and systems on a chip. But
I was paid to program a PDP-8.
Oh, there you go.
Burger King's original point of sale system was based on a PDP-8E. Was under the table, had no peripherals except for the keyboard, the printer.
Mm-hmm.
And the keyboard was not an ASCII keyboard. So you had to read the row and read the column to figure out what key it was.
Oh.
So you read this row, and it comes out to be a whopper. That's how they were done. Certainly not a whopper. The display was Nixie tubes, and the printer was a Seiko printer. Also, was not ASCII. We had to actually know where the letters were and strike the hammers over them, and it didn't have the whole alphabet. So you had to figure out a whopper there was a WPR.
Everything as short as it could be.
And it's great because you'd strike the things, hammers at the right time, and all the multitasking stuff you did manually, you did by yourself. And we did that in the Burger King, and it was all interrupt driven.
Right.
It was very fun to program back then.
I can believe it. The closest that I came to that was the TRS-80 back in its original #1 form. All right, single board computers. We mentioned that they exist these days. Systems on a chip, the next phase, and who knows. But if you are going to be a competitor with the Raspberry Pi, this article will tell you what you need to do. And it isn't easy. We have built up a lot of support systems for Ubuntu users and Linux users that didn't used to exist. And Raspberry Pi has successfully built a lot of support systems. There are thousands of people using Raspberry Pis for hundreds of thousands of purposes. And while there have been fairly successful other single board computers, not only do you have to have good hardware, you have to compete on the ability to have documentation and other resources in conjunction with a good community to make the thing work. Taking one example of somebody who wants to compete, Bill Recker presented us with this link here for the Milk 5. I don't think that's Milk V, RISC computer that combines a combination of Arduino, which is a great tool for things that are in the house. If you want to control an object, Arduino is the way to go. And then Linux, so that you have the chance to do higher level work, but all on one chip. Any comments to make on that, Bill?
He says in chat that it's a 5.
Good. Maybe his microphone is not working. There was some sound issue he was having back at the beginning of the meeting. Okay.
By the way, in terms of single board computers, technically things like the Intel NUC are single board computers, and they can be used as embedded systems. And there are ways you can put different things onto them to extend their capabilities. But it's nothing like the single board that a Pi is or the system on a chip.
Oh, we're hearing, I think, Bill try to comment.
Yes, somehow I'd managed to mute myself harder than usual. Yeah, it's a Roman numeral so it's V and 5. So, both are correct. And combining a couple of risk cores with an ARM core and being able to load the risk cores from the Arduino tool chain, it makes it a more powerful processor available to people with hobby tool chains instead of commercial development tools.
It is a hobbyist hacker tool at the moment, meaning that if you are developing some kind of product that someone else will use without necessarily dealing with the internals, these tools are not pull them out of the box, set them on your desk, and turn them on kind of tools. Single board computers typically are for the person who wants to create something from near scratch or to build a larger system out of the small pieces.
Yeah, and a commercial product designer may prototype with off-the-shelf single-board computers, and maybe their final product will have a socket to plug the single-board computer in. But if they're going to volume, they'll probably get a compatible processor soldered onto their board as opposed to having to source the single-board computers.
The nice thing about our current state of electronics is that those of us who consider ourselves the user kind of level can begin to explore the creative juices that we have with electronics, because the tools are so much more accessible than they were back when I started looking at this stuff, back with the Heathkit kind of components and the things that you could buy as boards to be put together from scratch before you could even begin to use the capability of them. This new stuff gives you the power of modern computing at the same time as the chance to explore the component level electronics. And it's quite a neat thing for all of us to realize where we are in this this journey together. Okay, hardware. If you are going to deal with foreign computers and or distant computers, it turns out that having a remote capacity to control remote computers, having something in that building that you can pretend is connected to your own keyboard. There is this open interface mini that we developed. There you can see the picture of a video that I will not play. Crowd Supply is one of those places where the designers of these tools can get money to support the initial and subsequent development of second versions and third versions. And I know that there are keyboard, KVM stands for Keyboard, Video, and Mouse, that you have 5 computers in front of you, and if you use a KVM box, you can hook one mouse and one keyboard and one monitor to all the 5 computer boxes that are in your local space. But this is for a remote use, and that's quite a different possibility. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, you might want to get to see more details by following through on this link. Okay, we are probably not going to get through all of the rest of this because we've had such a good meeting so far, and we have about a half an hour before the 5 o'clock typical deadline. But I'd like to go ahead and see how many we can get in. You are welcome to interrupt with comments and questions. Don't hesitate. Standard eBooks is a source of electronic books, the ebook format, that many of us use, whether on a Nook, a Kindle, or a browser-based kind of tool, an app-based kind of tool. If you're looking for high-quality ebooks, you can get free ones, by going to places like Project Gutenberg, where they are in a bunch of different formats. But this standard ebooks server is designed to present you with neat, carefully edited, nice choice of fonts and that sort of stuff so that you can really enjoy the book as if it were published by a commercial service. But you are limited to those books that are out of copyright. And hot internet includes a big issue these days. Hot in the terms of very negative heat. This article about web fingerprinting, which means how others out there can find out who you are by your behavior and the use of cross-site tracking cookies and other technologies that have come to be common. It is very scary, according to this person's blog, what he has explored to find out that they can identify you, whether you're using your laptop computer or your desktop computer at work or your phone on the road. It doesn't seem to matter anymore where you are or which computer you're using. You can be identified because of all the techniques that have been developed over time to combine those three things or others to give someone with the effort in their effort, they want to make the effort to find out what you do whenever you are anywhere. Your car is now a smart car. Your TV is now a smart TV. And in many cases, what that means is it's smart enough to help these guys figure out who you are and watch what you're doing 24 hours a day. That, unfortunately, is too hot for my tastes. I'm unhappy about that. Anybody have more comment? I heard a hand.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Am I on?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. I've been tracking something in parallel, finding it fascinating, and I think I just heard the same story. With AI, which is notorious for doing bad things, it's been doing something rather good in one corner, which worries me because every time it does something good, that's another hole for getting the bad stuff through. But it is outperforming meteorologists on predicting the weather. And on the size, it promises to be desktop computers within a year. And what it's doing is not looking for causes. Meteorologists want to link the weather tomorrow to sell their up ocean surface temperature, dozens of other things, and build a model with which they can predict the reality. AI simply does a staggering amount of data comparison over time and says, this one looks more like that one looks back during that typhoon, during that week of wonderful weather. Well, never mind what's causing it. I'm stupid in the corner, but if I have enough data to process, I can do it so fast that it will be even better. It's now working in good instances in weather prediction, and the big edge that caused the advantage is there's a ton of data out there. For the last 50 years, there's been, I think, more than twice daily data on virtually every part of the planet, including in the oceans. They've got all kinds of ways to surveil it now. So all you have to do is take a dumb AI and hook it into that wealth of data, and you can now perform what can be predicted by the models. I find that amazing and intriguing, and I think I'm smelling exactly the same thing that you just described. I'll try to provide a link for what I'm talking about, because I've seen a few good articles lately. The big question is, do I want to put one on my computer? I don't know the answer. That's it.
Okay, thank you. There is a prediction that the new summary search that Google has apparently begun to roll out could mean the demise of useful searching. By summarizing on the first page of a search, what you think you're looking for may not be presented if you use Google. There's a description how to get around the problem. There's a particular add-on command that you can do that will avoid this. And somewhere in here, I believe it says what that is. No, not on this one.
Algot?
I don't remember. Yes, I don't remember where I saw.
The command is UDM equals 14 to stop
And
the
then
AI
after a
summaries.
question mark on it,
It's just and UDM equals
right?
14. It does not require a question mark. And there's
Okay.
also a web. There's
And
also
the
a website.
ampersand symbol.
Yeah, I think the ampersand may be optional, but the UDM equals 14 is the parameter. And there's a website that automatically appends that. UDM14.
That information. That's right. That's right. If you'll put that into the chat,
Bill Rickard
I'll
just did.
grab it out of there at the end.
Bill Rickard
Okay.
just did.
Thank you. An intriguing thing similar to that happened recently when somebody was attempting to do a search using a non-big name search engine. Search engines sometimes rely on the tool of another company and they repackage the look of it. This person found that when a particular set of servers went offline, not only the Bing failed, but a whole bunch of white label failures indicated that they were using the Bing, which is, I believe, Microsoft's service that is behind their Edge browsing. So a whole bunch of people were not really providing a different service, just, oh, this looks different, but it's really somebody else. Oh, well, what are you going to do? And if you are doing a search and you run into a paywall, this may be a thing that you want to know about. All of the paywall removers are here. Archive buttons. I don't know how legal it is, but if there's a way to get around the paywall, this site is designed to help you get there. And I have not explored it yet. I came across it recently. So if anybody does before next meeting, perhaps we'll have a new discussion of it then. I don't want to slow us down too much, making sure we get through here today. If you are still an RSS feed user, the really simple syndication, it is possible to make the Mastodon system your feed reader by using the RSS Parrot service. So those of you who are Mastodon users, go ahead, find out more about it and see if that interests you. The scientists who are behind the internet always are checking to see how to keep things moving faster and more effectively as we clog the internet day by day with much more information than any human can handle, have determined that the various systems that require Starlink for their distribution of internet information. Starlink is the Elon Musk X system of satellites, I believe. It's lousy for the TCP protocol, which underlies the internet transfer of information. Unusually hostile link environment for the description here. TCP has to establish a connection every 11 seconds, I believe, if they're using Starlink as their connection system instead of cabling on the ground or underwater. That's an interesting article to read if you are interested in that level of stuff.
Yeah, that you have to adapt TCP somewhat for use over interplanetary circuits. And this has been known as NASA's been experimenting with updating some of their usage.
Thank you, Bill. I'm far from an expert at that level, so I appreciate any expansion that I can get about it. So computer security and privacy and freedom, and where are we? The Chrome browser has changed or is changing its extension environment, which in their terms is an attempt to be a performance and security upgrade, but it also will reduce the ability of anybody to have an effective ad blocker extension that they add to their Chrome browser. Ed Piesewicz brought this to our attention. Do you have any extra comments about it, Ed?
Well, other than it's probably going to affect a lot of the ad blocker extensions. And they've I believe it was this week that they flipped the switch on it. So if you're using an ad blocker extension now, at some point it's not going to work anymore. And it seems like between Google and the people that write the extensions, it's just going to be a back and forth cat and mouse game. Whether there may be a manifest V3 ad blocker that works, I have no idea. But I learned recently that the vast majority of ads are also trackers. Because I was trying to read some news articles and it says your ad blocker is on, please remove your ad blocker. So in Vivaldi, I use both the ad blocker and the tracker blocker. So I kept the tracker blocker on and turned off the ad blocker, and I'm still getting the ad blocker one. And then I found out that the vast majority of these are the ads contain trackers. So I just threw the ad, turned the ad blocker back on, and basically just said the heck with it. If that's the way these websites are going to be, fine.
Okay, we have Bob and Dick. Who was first?
I think Dick was first.
Okay, Dick.
Okay, I think I'm referencing the same article. Haven't proved it yet. It ended with a very simple patch you can use to avoid this whole issue. And the patch was switch to Firefox. And that brought up a different question in my mind, and that is, a lot of these things we used to use casually are going bad. Is Chromium, presumably the clean, non-proprietary version of Chrome, is it going to stay clean on this issue? I'm waiting to hear. And it brought up an even more important question in my mind. How about YouTube? YouTube isn't quite as independent as it used to be either. But so some of the major items we want to go to may need parallels, but Chrome has a good parallel. That's it.
Thank you, Dick. Bob, you're up.
What I wanted to say is that there are different kinds of so-called ad blockers. The ones that are list-based are the ones that are impacted, and they are different from extensions like Ghostery, and there are a few others that are not so much list-based as they are, I think, domain-based. So they keep much smaller lists and they keep them in a different format. Those extensions, I think, still do work. At least they do this week.
This week. Thank you. Okay. And if you are sharing, oh, no, there it is. Windows recall. Microsoft has plans to keep up to 25 gigabytes of screenshots, just screenshots, but taken every several seconds on your computer. I'm sure there's some reason that they think that this is a good idea, but I can't see it as a good idea. I think it's malware. This particular link leads us back to Nick at the Linux experiment again, where he talks about it. But I have also read somewhere that if you have shared information to any other person that includes email that they have read, and they go back to read that same email with your personal information on their Windows computer, your information shared with that person on a remote computer is now Microsoft's. How can that be good? I'm not sure what the benefit of this Windows recall is. Now, anybody have experience or thoughts about Windows recall? We'll know more. Yes.
I've heard some information about it, And basically the idea is that you will be able to do a search for things that you have done in the past, and you'll be able to find them. So if you know that you went to a website some time ago, you can use Windows Recall to try to find that website again or something. Like you, I don't necessarily see it as that useful of a feature. And the fact that it's apparently storing all this data unencrypted, it is storing it locally. And as of now, they say they are not transmitting it to Microsoft. How much
As
that'll,
of now.
yeah, how much that'll stay is up to how much you believe Microsoft.
The other piece is if their OneDrive is at all involved at all. If you've said, look, I'd like my stuff to be stored on OneDrive as a backup, well, then it is no longer just on your computer. And it, in the case of somebody else who has received your information, not there anymore, but in their OneDrive, which is the cloud backup of information that people use if they have Microsoft Windows, which I do not. So there you go. Bob, did you have some comment?
Only that, yeah, as I recall, Dennis is right. It is being sold as a way to find things that you were one place on the internet, you were several other places, now you're someplace else, and you want to know where you were in between, and you want to go back. But again, yes, it could be stored on OneDrive. Yes, it could be shared with other machines. And yes, it could end up someplace you don't expect.
Well, one other thing I wanted to say about it is, from what I understand, you are only getting it on new machines that are Copilot Plus PCs or something like that. So it actually won't run supposedly on older machines. And they also say that it has a indicator on your like taskbar or whatever. So if it's activated, you will always know.
So it sounds like there's a little flickery dot down there every 10 or 15 seconds that says, gotcha, 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 gotcha. I don't know. It's yet another feature that is thought out at one level and maybe not thought out at another. We'll have to see how it goes. I don't have a brand new computer anyway, so maybe this doesn't come with a new computer unless you leave it with Windows on it. But I'm not sure where we're headed. Sometimes I'm very positive about this stuff, and other times I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
With a second, yeah, go ahead.
I think it will require the NPU, the neural processing unit, which is why it will only come on certain new PCs. The ones with the Copilot enabled to process locally. It does AI locally, and that requires an NPU.
Do I need one?
I hope not.
I think I'll get dropped.
Yeah. He's been having connection problems a little bit
Seems like he
that are
does need that
affecting
GPU
his
I got
speech.
kicked, apparently.
Harry, he can hear us.
I can hear you now. I'm trying to connect my camera.
You're back. One instance of you is frozen, but the other instance is back.
All right. Let's see if I can reshare with this instance and we'll try to get through.
We're seeing the agenda.
You are? Okay. Well, I'm not, so let me just switch over to my Firefox screen. If you're still seeing it, I'm happy.
I know it just went away.
Never mind. Let's try this share again. Share, window, Firefox, are you there? Yes. No. Hold on. I don't want Chrome. Audio. Not seeing the opportunity to share Firefox. Maybe Chrome is hearing us talk and saying, no, you don't get to. Huh. Can't share. Maybe I'll go with the entire screen. And then switch here now. How's that?
You got it.
All right. So burn after boarding. Another situation where a whole bunch of information is on pieces of throwable paper, much more than you would expect. Barcodes on your airplane boarding pass should not be thrown away or dropped on the floor as you get off the plane just because you're lazy. They contain a huge amount of information. So read that article if you fly. And artificial intelligence, large language models, fake William Morris prints have been put up for sale on some site. And the reason that that's a big issue is not that William Morris could have paintings that were generated by AI, but that he never did paintings. He never made a single painting. He did other kinds of artwork that did not involve what's being put up for sale as is. So how does that add value to the history of art if you think you can buy something that never existed at all, that is attributed to somebody that did exist?
It's art in the sense that fleecing gullible idiots that don't do the basic research is art.
Fleece art, fleece art. I like that.
I would
Oh,
argue that it is art, and that in the sense of abstract art, having changed opinions and impressions, if you will, I think AI art is going to be more productive in terms of amounts than human art. As to quality, not yet, but we'll see.
it's an interesting time we live in, no doubt about it. The next one is just for interest in reading. It turns out that someone who took a photo of something feels that it should not be legal for someone else to make a painting and sell it without some sort of compensation back to the person who took the photo. And I urge everybody to check that list if that serves you some information. I don't know that the court case has been engaged yet. It may just be somebody's plan to fight for their rights. I hear a Bob?
Yeah. This has become an issue with scientific photographs, like the ones that are taken by NASA. Some of these have been incorporated into artworks, and the scientists who originally spent all this money to get these photos and to enhance them want at least for acknowledgement to occur. And they're hoping that some compensation could also happen. There's also the flip side. When you use AI to create an image that is then published in a scientific journal, how far are you allowed to go? Is it still science?
The planet Mercury with a bunch of people wearing bikinis and thongs. Yeah, right. Somebody had a hand up. Bill. No? I thought I saw something briefly.
Dick and Jill.
It's Dick. There it is. Far corner.
I claim that this is the reverse argument for taking photographs of paintings. And the legal position on that in most places is you can look at it yourself, but the earlier was when you couldn't use it for commercial purposes. Now the internet and open source, you can distribute it to the harm of the painter. He's not getting paid for his product, and it's not commercial purposes. So it's kind of an issue, and now it's kind of in the opposite direction. Interesting.
No doubt. And our final piece of information, the Stack Overflow. That's a place where people who are knowledgeable in code typically place answers to people's questions on how to do something. Stack Overflow is a place that many people have relied on as a source and a place to share expertise. It has agreed to let the open AI company scrape the community-generated code in order to be able to later provide no attribution coding by whatever method they plan to do it, building somebody else's application on what's expert giveaway for free. It sounds like open source in a way, but the people who are the donors may find themselves less interested in donating expertise. It's a sad day if that's what happens. And Bill, no? Who was it? Somebody there, Dick again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to know whether this code is honest, dishonest, incompetent, or super trouble? Well, try it and find out. It's free.
Good point. Okay. Anybody have any last minute wrap up kind of comments to make? Because we've crossed the 5 o'clock border, and it's been a very full but very interesting meeting for me. I hope everybody else who has participated felt the same. And let us thank all those people who eventually do watch this online for their chance to see what we've done this month. Our next meeting is the second Thursday, not the first, the second Thursday of July, because we have the 4th on Thursday next month, and we're not going to meet on the 4th of July. It would be unpatriotic. So, anybody with a closing comment?
Than open source.
No. Good point, Bill.
I just want to remind people I did put something in chat about pulse audio and pipe wire that's kind of important. That pipe wire does not automatically fire up the pulse audio daemon if you have pipe wire running. So I had to make a startup task for that.
Thank you. Okay. With that in mind, I will wish you a wonderful end of, well, the wonderful bulk of June. It's only the 6th and the first 2 weeks of July. Celebrate, enjoy yourselves, don't get sunburned. If it rains, don't get wet.
Okay, and see you at the next BLU meeting. Those of you who join, that will be Red Hat. Now Rocky Linux.
Super. Any other announcements? I don't see. Thanks again. NatickFOSS loves you all.